Buenas, nos volvemos a encontrar. En esta ocasión con otro lanzamiento de la empresa SpaceX y la misión Starship's 10th Flight Test. Bienvenidos a Liftoff, el canal donde el cielo no es el límite, es solo el comienzo. Hoy retrocedemos al 26 de agosto de 2025, un día que quedará grabado en la historia de la exploración espacial. Ayer, desde Starbase, Texas, SpaceX, bajo el mando de Elon Musk, lanzó el Starship Flight Test 10. Todo comenzó con ese tuit icónico de @SpaceX. A las 3:18, Watch Starship's 10th Flight Test, con enlaces al webcast que millones vimos en vivo. Agárrense, porque vamos a revivir cada momento, desde los preparativos hasta el amerizaje triunfal. Imagina la escena días antes. El 24 de agosto, el equipo de SpaceX estaba listo, pero un sensor defectuoso en los sistemas de oxígeno líquido del Orbital Launch Mount forzó un scrap a minutos del despegue. Al día siguiente, 25 de agosto, las nubes amenazaron el cielo, y otro scrap dejó a todos conteniendo el aliento. Pero ayer, 26 de agosto, la esperanza renació. Desde la madrugada, técnicos revisaron el booster 16 con sus 33 motores Raptor y Ship 37, equipada con tails metálicos nuevos para una reentrada estresada. El plan estaba claro: separación de etapas, despliegue de 8 simuladores Starlink, relight de motor en espacio, boost back burn, y amerizajes en el Golfo de México e Índico. La Federal Aviation Administration dio luz verde tras cerrar la investigación de Flight 9. La energía en Starbase era eléctrica. Llegamos al gran día. A las 6 de la tarde, la transmisión en SpaceX.com y en X arranca. Dan Huot, con su voz firme, dice: bienvenidos a Flight Test 10. La cámara muestra el stack de 121 metros bajo un atardecer rojizo, ventando vapor criogénico. Jessie Anderson, ingeniera de propulsión, explica: hoy probamos la reutilización total, separación, payloads y amerizajes controlados. Elon Musk se une desde el control, esto es por Marte y Artemis 3. Si sale bien, propellant transfer en 2026. El clima está al 85% go, y las multitudes en South Padre Island ya celebran. El tuit de @SpaceX. Con esa imagen de Musk y los Raptors, ya tiene 350 views. La cuenta atrás comienza. A las 6:15 de la tarde, el rugido de las válvulas criogénicas llena el aire. Anderson narra: cargamos metano y oxígeno líquido en booster 16 y Ship 37. Los tails nuevos de Ship enfrentarán 2000 grados en reentrada. Drones captan a fans en la playa, y Highway 4 se cierra. Huot añade: 2 scraps atrás, pero hoy es el día. En X, Starship Flight 10 sube con fotos del stack. La tensión crece, que esto está a punto de explotar, literal y figurativamente. Hito 4, top-off y preparativos finales 7 de la tarde CDT. A las 7 de la tarde, el propelente llega al 90%. Anderson detalla: el pez dispense de Ship 37 soltará 8 simuladores Starlink, un paso para constelaciones futuras. El OLM se inunda con agua para su presión acústica, y la cámara muestra el control de misión zumbando. Musk bromea: si no explota, tacos para todos. El clima sube a 90% go. En X, @Elon Musk. Tuitea: 10 minutos al despegue, con 450K. Ahora continuemos con el lanzamiento de SpaceX. Pero antes, si sos nuevo en el canal, suscríbete y activa la campanita.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We lift off.
Vehicle pitching downrange.
Booster chamber pressure nominal.
All right, we're a little over 40 seconds into flight. 33 and 33 rapid engines.
Power telemetry nominal.
Getting good call outs, healthy systems on the booster as it starts to pitch over the Gulf. All right, we're a little over 1 minute into flight, about to pass through max Q.
Max Q.
Llegamos al momento clave. A las 7:31 de la tarde sonó con fuerza el boom. Los 33 Raptors rugieron con 7.500 toneladas de empuje. Huot gritó, Starship of the pad, nominal. Ente más 1, 00, Max Q superado sin problemas.
Miko. Ship ignition. Boost back burn startup.
Stage separation.
Stage separation confirmed. We've got 6 engines running on ship. Booster is doing its boost back burn, continuing now towards its splashdown site in the Gulf.
Ship
We have seen
Raptor
all 6
pressure is
Raptors lit
nominal.
up on ship.
Luego, a T+2, 40, se realizó la separación de etapas. El hot staging fue perfecto, con llamas azules espectaculares. El booster 16 inició su boost back burn con 13 motores, uno apagado a propósito para simular fallos. Esto fue historia, gente. ¿Quién más sintió esa vibra en casa? Déjenlo en los comentarios.
All right, about 20 seconds to landing burn.
Ship Raptor chamber pressure is nominal.
All right, here we go.
Landing burn startup.
Looks like we got 12 of those 13.
Down to 3, including one in the middle ring. Down to 2.
Landing burn
Nice
startup.
little hover. And landing burn shut down. And into the Gulf, here we come. And the booster has splashed down.
A T+7, 00, booster 16 hizo su landing burn con 2 Raptors y splashdown en el Golfo. Perfecto, a 20 kilómetros de la costa. Dan Huot, datos para Mechacilla. Mientras, Ship 37 llegó a 150 kilómetros.
All right, shut down the vacuum engines.
Ship engine cut off.
We shut down those center 3. Successful ship engine cutoff.
Seco, baby, there we go. That's what we want.
Nominal orbit insertion.
All right, we just heard the call out for nominal orbital insertion.
All right, so ship is in space. There we go. We're seeing the flaps starting to move into a stowed position. That's why it looks like your camera's moving.
Yeah, exciting to see Starship safely in space, and super pumped to see all the team's hard work in action here today. And of course, as guaranteed, it's been an exciting day so far. We successfully lifted off right on time at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Thankfully, our weather was looking good today. And booster, we had our soft splashdown in the Gulf, so ship continues on.
Yeah, ship able to complete its ascent burn all the way in. You can see some of the shadows start to creep as it's going to be eventually flying into an orbital nighttime, so we'll see some daylight start to go away. But ship is in orbit, completed its burn, and I mean, that's just the beginning. Now we've got a whole bunch more to go. So we've got some exciting demonstrations
Ship
planned
FTS is
while
safe.
we're on orbit. So that right there, we just saved the FTS, the flight termination system. That's that automatic flight safety system we have on the vehicle. So that is now turned off while ship starts its coast period. We are coming up, our next milestone is going to be the deployment of those Starlink simulators. We've got some payload inside of Starship that we're hoping to deploy into space for the very first time. That deploy is supposed to start at about 18 minutes and 27 seconds into the flight, so just about 7 minutes from now. That deploy will take place over a couple of minutes. It'll go about 1 satellite a minute, so we'll be spread out over that. It might get a little dark, but we've got a couple of views that we can show you to see that deploy in action. After that, we're also looking to do a relight of a single Raptor engine while we are in space. We've done this once before. This is not necessary to deorbit, as we are in a suborbital trajectory, but this is essentially a chance to test out what we need to be able to do a deorbit burn. So we'll be doing that a little bit later in the flight, about 37 minutes or so into the flight, and then we get into reentry. We're looking to get that light show and, more importantly, get that really critical data about the ship's heat shield. Like that on this flight. Everything's looking good with our fuel tank and our fuel press system. So we are hopefully just a couple of minutes away from seeing that payload door open and getting to our first ever payload. It's not the first payload we've ever carried, but it's the first one we're going to try and shoot off into space. All right, so I think we're supposed to open the payload door in just about a minute and change. And you're seeing a little bit of residual gas. And we opened the door once. I want to say it was back on Flight 3 when we were able to make it up into space. And you'll kind of see a lot of that gas rushing out into the vacuum of space. It's the residual that's left over after we've already vented it down. So kind of a cool light show. And then we'll get ready to deploy those payloads out. And as we mentioned, so we have crossed over now at this point into an orbital nighttime. So views from the outside will get pretty dark, but we'll see what we can see. We do this by design. We've been launching these later in the day here in Texas to try and get daytime views when we splash down. So it's daytime over in the Indian Ocean, where we are currently headed.
Just a few seconds until we expect those payload doors to open.
All right, one more time. Open the pod bay doors, Hal. So we are currently in payload deploy prep. And the door is open. All right, so the payload door is open. We should see the first satellite start to deploy at about T plus 18 minutes and 27 seconds, so should be only about 30 seconds. So one step closer. Hal listened this time. He cooperated. He opened the payload door for us. There's a view kind of behind the Pez here looking out into the vacuum of space.
About 15 seconds until payload deploy.
Ship has transitioned to payload deploy. There we go. Pew pew. Been waiting way too long to do that. There we go.
There goes another one. Super exciting moment, as you can hear the energy in both Hawthorne and Starbase. Everyone's super excited for finally getting to deploy some of those simulated satellites.
Pez system moving down. Next row. There we go. As we said, we're going to do about one every minute or so. And this is just kind of a dress rehearsal for when we're going to be deploying the V3 satellites. And these are just a massive, massive increase to Starlink's capability. Each one of them has it's 60 terabits per second of capacity that's going to get added to the network per launch. That's 20 times more than what we're adding with every single Falcon 9 launch today, which, step increase in capability. There goes another one. All right, so as we said, we've got 8 total that we're going to go through today. It's about a minute for each one, but looking good on payload deploy. All right, so we're about halfway through. When we actually start launching the V3 Starlinks on Starship, we're going to be flying about 60 each time. So it'll be about an hour to get through a full stack. But again, it's just going to be a massive increase in the amount of bandwidth. It's going to enable gigabit upload download for people with Starlink, anywhere on the planet. And for us, Starlink is just a tremendous part of just the Starship flight test program.
Yeah, absolutely. Always getting us that data, and yeah, the amazing views we have on the vehicle today.
Yeah, views brought to you by Starlink of us deploying Starlink simulators before we deploy actual Starlinks. How deep does it go? All right, another one firing out. Pez looking smooth today. All right, looks like we've got one left.
Almost there.
Yeah, there you go, one remaining. So 7 of the 8 have been deployed, 1 more to go. And then we will have completed our first ever payload deploy operation. Just a reminder, we're on a suborbital trajectory. These satellites on that exact same suborbital trajectory, they're going to burn up entirely on that same trajectory towards the Indian Ocean. So the last one has been deployed. Starlink simulator payload complete. Heck yeah, everybody.
Loving the energy from Starbase and Hawthorne.
AT más 18:00, despliegue de Starlinks. Esos 8 simuladores salieron del pez dispense como campeones. Y AT más 20:00, relight de Raptor. Musk dijo, datos para Marte y Artemis 3. Esto valida la reutilización total que SpaceX está rompiendo récords. ¿Qué opinan de esos simuladores? Cuéntenme abajo.
All right, flaps earning their paycheck today, getting through kind of that max stressing.
Definitely things looking good so far. We're about 2 minutes out now from Starship becoming transonic.
One cool thing to note as we get some of those views showing kind of the whole length of the ship, one of the changes we made after Flight 6 was to change the tile line a little bit. So we had kind of scaled back the number of tiles significantly, as when we go to catch these ships, you don't want to, I think as Elon said, you don't want to shuck the ship as you catch it and knock all those tiles off. So we knew we were going to have to kind of peel back that layer a little bit. And the first time we did it was on Flight 6, and we saw kind of wrinkling and dimples almost in the ship as we were creating these hot spots in the uneven parts of the heat shield. And so we, to kind of address that, we smoothed it out. That's why you've got kind of that nice smoothed out black line now on the ship. And just looking at it, we can see kind of a little bit of hot spot, a little bit of warping almost. Near the payload door, you can see a little bit of colored patina up above it, but we don't see those kind of deep, almost, they almost look like gouges on that. So it looks like that's been pretty successful. So all right, we are less than a minute away from hitting transonic. Again, pretty soon our forward velocity is going to look like it's kind of falling off a cliff, and Starship will look like it's falling off a cliff as we essentially go into our belly flop. If you watch some of the high altitude tests or suborbital campaigns, we were able to test that. It was a pretty fundamental, like, can this thing actually fly? And we were able to prove that out with that suborbital campaign, and that's what we're about to see shortly here. All right, so at this point, we've dropped below the speed of sound, so Starship itself is subsonic. We are starting to chill the engines for a landing burn attempt. Landing flip supposed to start in a little over 2 minutes. Subsonic Indian Ocean, we're on our way.
Starship is subsonic.
There we go. Farewell, space. All right, so coming up in just a little under 2 minutes, so we're going to do the flip and the burn. So we're only using those 3 center Raptor engines, the sea levels, the ones that can kind of gimbal, that can move around and steer. Dipping the nose down a little bit. Got 2 of our engines chilled in, waiting on 1 more. So again, we'll attempt to use 3 burns for that initial flip. We eventually go down to just 2 Raptors for the end of the landing burn.
Just about 1 minute now from that landing flip and landing burn start.
Structurally, we're looking good. Got good pressures in our nose cone for everything. Just about 30 seconds. So again, we're going to look for the flip. So Starship's doing its belly flop right now. We're going to do the flip. Swing out. Let's punch through some clouds first. Here we go.
Starship landing burn startup.
Seeing 3 engines. There's our flip. There's a buoy.
Oh my God.
There's a splashdown.
Oh my God.
Hey. Oh, man. Yeah. Farewell, Ship 37. Thank you, buoy cam. Landing flip, landing burn, splash out of the Indian Ocean. There we go.
Llegó el gran regreso. AT más 50, 00, Ship 37 entró en atmósfera donde se observó plasma brillante, tails metálicos resistiendo 2000 grados. El belly flap fue épico en las webcams. Y AT 6600, amerizaje en el Índico. Un soft landing impecable, aunque explotó después nominal para pruebas. Huot cerró, misión completa. Primer éxito full de Block 2. En X, @SpaceX. Posteó highlights con 2M views. Musk, gran día. Flight 11 en octubre, esto es el futuro, amigos. Y eso fue el Flight Test 10, exploradores. Un salto gigante para SpaceX y la humanidad. Gracias por acompañarme en Liftoff. Si les voló la mente, denle like, suscríbanse y compartan. ¿Qué quieren ver en el próximo? ¿Análisis de datos o Flight 11? Dejen sus ideas. Nos vemos en el próximo lanzamiento. Te envío un abrazo y gracias por estar.
in the Gulf. We are seeing all 6 Raptors lit up on ship.